The locker room reeked of sweat and shame, and I was choking on both. At 16, I stood trembling as Ethan Carver's fist slammed into my ribs, his laughter sharp as broken glass. "Faggot," he spat, and the word burned deeper than the bruise blooming on my skin. My name is Lucas Hart, and in the small town of Willow Creek, Pennsylvania, being openly gay in 2015 was like painting a target on your back. I'd come out the year before, naive enough to think honesty would set me free. Instead, it chained me to Ethan's cruelty and the silent complicity of our classmates at Willow Creek High. The bullying wasn't just punches, it was whispers in the halls, stolen gym clothes, and notes slipped into my locker with words I still can't repeat. I survived by shrinking, by making myself invisible. But Ethan always found me. That spring, I hit my breaking point. It was after gym class, the air thick with steam from the showers. Ethan cornered me, his buddies snickering as he shoved me against the tiles. "You think you're brave, Hart? You're nothing." His voice was a blade, and I felt my resolve crack. I didn't fight back, not because I couldn't, but because I was terrified of who I'd become if I did. That night, I sat on my bedroom floor, staring at a bottle of pills, wondering if disappearing was easier than enduring. My mom's voice, soft through the door, pulled me back. "Lucas, you are enough." She didn't know the half of it, but her words were a lifeline. I swore I'd escape Willow Creek. I poured myself into school, acing every test, joining every club that kept me away from Ethan's reach. By senior year, I'd earned a scholarship to NYU, a ticket out of that suffocating town. The day I left, I didn't look back, not at the high school, not at Ethan, not at the boy I used to be. I thought I'd left the pain behind, too. Fast forward to 2025. I'm 26, a rising star at a New York law firm, polished and confident in ways teenage Lucas could only dream of. I'd built a life where I could walk down the street holding a man's hand without flinching. But Willow Creek has a way of pulling you back, like a tide you can't outrun. My mom's heart condition worsened, and I returned home for the first time in years to help her recover. The town hadn't changed, same diner, same church steeples, same ghosts. I wasn't prepared for who I'd find there. It started at the Willow Creek Community Center, where I'd volunteered to help with a legal aid clinic. I was setting up my table when a man walked in, his presence filling the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. Broad shoulders, dark hair curling at the nape of his neck, and eyes that held a quiet intensity. He introduced himself as Noah Carver, Ethan's younger brother. My stomach twisted. I hadn't seen Ethan since high school, but the name Carver was a trigger, a flood of memories I'd buried deep. Noah was different. He was 24, a paramedic with a gentle smile and a warmth that disarmed me. He'd been away at college during my worst years, spared from the high school battlefield. We talked for hours that day, about law, life, and the town we both called home. He didn't know about Ethan's history with me, or so I thought. When he asked me to grab coffee, I said yes before my brain caught up with my heart. Our coffee dates turned into late-night talks, then dinners, then moments where his hand brushed mine and I forgot how to breathe. Noah was everything Ethan wasn't: kind, thoughtful, unafraid to be vulnerable. He was openly bisexual, and the way he spoke about it, with quiet pride, made me wish I'd known him back then. I fell hard, and it scared me. Falling for Noah meant confronting the shadow of his brother, a shadow I wasn't sure I could face. One night, over takeout in his tiny apartment, Noah's expression darkened. "Lucas, there's something you need to know about Ethan," he said, his voice low. My heart sank. I braced myself, expecting an apology, a defense, anything but what came next. He's running for mayor, and he's using his past to paint himself as a reformed man. I froze. Ethan Carver, the boy who'd made my life hell, was now a candidate for mayor of Willow Creek. Worse, he was leveraging his troubled youth to win votes, spinning a story of redemption that conveniently erased the pain he'd caused. Noah looked at me, his eyes searching mine. I know what he did to you, Lucas. He told me years ago, when he was drunk and guilty. I didn't know how to bring it up. The room spun. Noah knew. He'd known all along. And yet he'd chosen to sit across from me, to laugh with me, to let me fall for him. I wanted to hate him for it, but his gaze held nothing but sincerity. I'm not my brother, he whispered. But I need to know if you're okay with this. With us. I didn't have an answer. Not then. All I knew was that Ethan's campaign was a lie, and I had the power to unravel it. As a lawyer, I'd learned how to dig for truth, how to expose what people wanted hidden. But doing so meant reopening wounds I'd spent years stitching closed. And it meant risking the fragile, beautiful thing growing between me and Noah. That night, I lay awake, torn between vengeance and love. Ethan's face haunted me, but so did Noah's. I was holding a match, and Willow Creek was dry tinder. The question was whether I'd light the fire or let it burn me instead. The next morning, Willow Creek felt smaller, like the air itself was pressing in. I walked to the diner where Mom used to take me for pancakes, hoping the familiarity would ground me. Instead, I saw Ethan's campaign posters plastered on every lamppost, his smug grin promising a new future for Willow Creek. I couldn't eat. My mind churned with Noah's words from the night before. Ethan, reformed. The man who'd laughed as I bled. I wanted to believe people could change. But the thought of him leading this town felt like a betrayal of every kid still hiding who they were. I pulled out my phone and started searching for dirt. Old police reports, school records, anything that could expose him. As a lawyer, I knew how to find cracks in a facade. Noah texted me as I sat there. His message simple, "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. I wasn't ready to face him. Not when my heart was a tug-of-war between anger and longing. Instead, I drove to the high school, now quieter than I remembered. The halls still echoed with the ghosts of my past lockers slammed shut. Ethan's voice taunting me. I found the principal's office and asked about old disciplinary records. The secretary, a kind woman named Mrs. Ellis, remembered me. "Lucas Hart, you've done well for yourself," she said, her smile warm. But when I mentioned Ethan, her face tightened. "Some things don't change," she muttered, handing me a thin file. It wasn't much, a few suspensions for fighting, vague notes about disruptive behavior. Nothing concrete enough to bury him. I thanked her and left, frustration gnawing at me. That evening, Noah showed up at my mom's house. I was on the porch, nursing a coffee, when his truck pulled up. He stepped out, his paramedic uniform rumpled from a long shift, and the sight of him softened something in me. "You didn't answer my text," he said, not accusing, just concerned. I needed time, I admitted, staring at the steam rising from my mug. It's a lot." Noah sat beside me, close but not touching. "I get it. Ethan's my brother. But what he did to you, I hate him for it. I just don't know how to fix it." His voice cracked, and I saw the weight he carried, caught between family and something bigger. I wanted to tell him it wasn't his burden, but the word stuck. Instead, I asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "About knowing." He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous habit I'd come to adore. "I was scared you'd walk away. When I saw you at the community center, I didn't know who you were at first. But the more we talked, the more I realized you were the guy Ethan used to talk about. The one he couldn't break." His words hit me like a punch. I'd always thought Ethan saw me as weak. But Noah's version painted a different picture. It didn't erase the pain, but it shifted something. I looked at him, his eyes steady and unguarded, and felt the pull again. "What do we do now?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "But I'm with you, Lucas. Whatever you decide." The next few days were a blur. I dug deeper, contacting old classmates through social media, piecing together stories of Ethan's cruelty. Some remembered, some didn't. But a pattern emerged. I wasn't his only target. There was Mia, a trans girl who'd left town after relentless harassment. Jamal, a quiet kid who'd dropped out. Their stories fueled my resolve, but they also weighed on me. Exposing Ethan meant dragging others' pain into the open. 2. Noah and I kept seeing each other, though the air between us was heavy. One night, at a quiet bar on the edge of town, he reached for my hand under the table. "I'm falling for you, Lucas," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I need you to know I'll stand by you, even if it means going against Ethan." My heart raced. I wanted to kiss him, to lose myself in the warmth of his words. But Ethan's shadow loomed. "What if I can't let this go?" I asked. "Then we fight," he said simply. "Together." I started building a case not for a courtroom, but for the town. I reached out to a local journalist, Sarah Nguyen, who'd covered Willow Creek's politics for years. She was skeptical but intrigued when I shared what I knew. "If you've got evidence, I'll run the story," she said. "But it needs to be airtight." The problem was, my evidence was thin memories, whispers, a few vague records. I needed something undeniable. That's when I remembered Coach Harlan, the gym teacher who'd turned a blind eye to Ethan's attacks. He'd retired, but he still lived in town. If anyone knew the truth, it was him. I tracked him down to a small house on the outskirts of Willow Creek. He was older, grayer, but his eyes widened when he saw me. "Lucas Hart," he said, almost a whisper. "What do you want?" "The truth," I said. "About Ethan Carver." He hesitated, then invited me in. Over coffee, he admitted he'd known about the bullying but hadn't acted. "I was a coward," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "But I kept a journal back then. Dates, incidents, names. It's in the attic somewhere." My pulse quickened. A journal could be the key of first-hand account from a credible source. But as I left his house, a car slowed beside me. Ethan's face stared out from the driver's seat, his eyes cold and calculating. "Heard your back, Hart," he said. "Stay out of my way." The threat was clear, but so was my resolve. I wasn't the scared kid he remembered. I was something more now, and I was ready to fight. Coach Harlan's journal was a gold mine, but it came at a cost. The pages, yellowed and cramped with his tight handwriting, detailed years of incidents not just mine, but others Ethan had tormented. Dates, times, even quotes from Ethan himself, bragging about teaching fags a lesson. It was damning, but digging it up meant reliving my worst days. Each entry was a knife, cutting open scars I thought had healed. I met Sarah Nguyen at a coffee shop in town. sliding the journal across the table. Her eyes widened as she flipped through it. "This is explosive," she said. "But Ethan's got powerful friends now, business owners. Church leaders. You sure you want to take this on?" I wasn't sure. Not entirely. Exposing Ethan could ruin his campaign, but it could also tear Willow Creek apart. And then there was Noah. Every time I saw him, my resolve wavered. His touch, his laugh, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the room, it was a lifeline. But it tethered me to Ethan's world. Noah came over that night, his face drawn. "I heard you're talking to a reporter," he said, sitting on my mom's couch. "Lucas, if you do this, it'll destroy him." I bristled. "He destroyed me. Noah. For years." "I know," he said, his voice soft but firm. "And I hate him for it. But he's still my brother. If you go public, it's not just him, it's our family. Our name. I need to know you're doing this for the right reasons." His words stung. Was I doing this for justice? Or revenge? The line was blurry, and I hated how it made me question myself. "I'm doing it so no one else has to go through what I did," I said finally. "Can you live with that?" He didn't answer, just pulled me into a hug. His warmth grounded me, but it didn't erase the doubt. The next day, I got a call from Mia, the trans girl I tracked down through a mutual friend. She was living in Philly now, working as a graphic designer. "I heard what you're doing," she said over the phone, her voice steady but emotional. "Ethan made my life hell. If you're going after him, I'm in." Her story was worse than my public humiliation. Physical attacks. Teachers who looked the other way. She had a few old emails from a counselor who'd tried to help, and she agreed to share them with Sarah. Jamal, the kid who dropped out, was harder to find. But when I did, he was reluctant. "I've moved on. Lucas," he said. "Why drag it up?" "Because he's running for mayor," I said. "He doesn't get to rewrite history." Jamal sighed. "I'll think about it." With Mia's emails and Harlan's journal, Sarah had enough to start drafting her article. But Ethan wasn't sitting still. His campaign events were packed, his speeches polished. He branded himself as a family man, a churchgoer, a changed soul who'd overcome his youthful mistakes. It made my blood boil, but it also made him dangerous. People believed him. One evening, I was leaving the community center when Ethan cornered me again, this time in the parking lot. No car, no witnesses, just him, taller and broader than I remembered, his face a mask of controlled rage. "You're digging where you shouldn't. Hart," he said. "Drop it, or I'll make you regret it." I stood my ground, heart pounding. "I'm not 16 anymore. Ethan, you don't scare me." He smirked, stepping closer. "You sure about that? I know where you live. I know about your mom. And Noah." The mention of Noah sent a chill through me. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to swing. "Leave him out of this," I said. Ethan laughed, low and cruel. "You think he's on your side? He's a Carver. Blood's thicker than whatever you two have." I drove home shaking, Ethan's words looping in my head. Was he right? Could I trust Noah completely? I wanted to, but doubt gnawed at me. When I told Noah about the encounter, his face hardened. "He's bluffing," he said. "He's scared because you're getting close." "Then help me," I said. "If you're really with me, help me stop him." Noah hesitated, his jaw tight. "I'll try," he said finally. But I need time. Time was the one thing I didn't have. Sarah's article was set to run in a week, and Ethan's campaign was gaining momentum. I spent my days combing through more records. My nights with Noah, our connection growing even as the tension did. One night, as we lay in his bed, his arm around me, he whispered, "I love you, Lucas." I froze. Love. The word was a gift and a weight. "I love you too," I said, and I meant it. But love didn't solve the problem of Ethan, or the choice I faced, destroy his future, or protect my own heart. By the end of the week, Sarah called with news. "I've got a source inside Ethan's campaign," she said. "Someone who says he's still bullying people, staffers, volunteers. If we can get them to go on record, it's over for him." I felt a surge of hope, but also dread. This was bigger than me now. It was about Willow Creek, about every kid who'd ever felt like I did. But it was also about Noah, and the fragile future we were building. I had to decide how far I was willing to go and what I was willing to lose. The source inside Ethan's campaign was a young volunteer named Claire, barely out of college. She met me at a park outside town, her hands fidgeting with a coffee cup. "He's not who he says he is," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. "He yells at us, threatens to ruin our careers if we mess up. Last week, he fired a guy for being too soft, called him a slur I won't repeat." Her story matched the Ethan I knew, but it wasn't enough. Sarah needed a smoking gun, something undeniable. Claire promised to get me texts or emails proof of Ethan's behavior. "Give me a few days," she said. "But if he finds out, I'm done." I understood her fear. Ethan's reach was long, and his campaign was a machine, fueled by charm and intimidation. I thanked Claire and drove home, my mind racing. If she came through, we could end this. But every step forward felt like a step closer to losing Noah. He was waiting for me at Mom's house, his face pale. "Ethan knows you're talking to people," he said. "He called me, ranting about you ruining his life. Lucas, he's losing it." "Good," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Noah's eyes searched mine, and I saw the strain this was putting on him. He was caught between his brother and me, and I hated that I was forcing him to choose. "I found something," he said quietly, pulling out his phone. "An old video. Ethan sent it to me years ago, when I was in college. I didn't think much of it then, but," he trailed off, handing me the phone. The video was grainy, shot in what looked like a basement. Ethan, younger but unmistakable, was laughing, holding a beer. "Watch this," he said to the camera, then turned to a kid I didn't recognize, shoving him against a wall. The kid flinched, and Ethan mocked him, using the same slurs he'd thrown at me. The video cut off abruptly, but it was enough. "This could ruin him," I said, my voice shaking. Noah nodded, his expression torn. "I know. That's why I'm giving it to you. But Lucas, if you use it, he'll know it came from me." The weight of his words settled over me. Noah was risking his family, his reputation, everything. I reached for his hand, squeezing it. "Thank you," I said. "I'll protect you. I promise." But could I? The closer we got to exposing Ethan, the more dangerous it felt. I gave the video to Sarah, who was ecstatic. "This, plus Claire's evidence. And he's done," she said. "But we need to move fast. The election's in 2 weeks." I spent the next few days in a haze, balancing my work at the legal aid clinic, visits to Mom, and stolen moments with Noah. He was quieter now, his smiles rarer. I knew he was wrestling with guilt, with loyalty to a brother who didn't deserve it. One night, as we walked through the park, he stopped and kissed me under a streetlight. "Whatever happens," he said, "I'm glad I found you." His words were a balm, but they couldn't erase the storm brewing. Claire came through with a string of texts from Ethan, vicious, demeaning messages to his staff, laced with the same hate I'd known in high school. Sarah was ready to publish, but she wanted one more thing: my story. On the record. "I can't keep you anonymous, Lucas," she said. "Your name carries weight. People will listen." Going public meant exposing myself, my pain, my past. It meant the town knowing I was gay, something I'd never fully declared here. It meant risking my mom's peace, Noah's trust, everything. I told Sarah I'd think about it, but time was running out. The night before the article was set to drop, Ethan showed up at my door. Mom was asleep, and Noah was at work. It was just me and him, face to face. "You think you can take me down?" he sneered. "I've got this town in my pocket." "You're nothing, Hart. You always were." I wanted to scream, to hit him, to make him feel the pain he'd caused. Instead, I said, "We'll see." He laughed, but there was fear in his eyes. He knew I had something, even if he didn't know what. As he walked away, I realized I was done being afraid. I called Sarah and told her to use my name. The article hit the next morning, a bombshell that shook Willow Creek. My story, Mia's, Jamal's, Claire's texts, Harlan's journal, Noah's video, it was all there, laid bare in black and white. The headline screamed, "Mayoral Candidates Past Exposed, a History of Hate." By noon, the town was buzzing. Ethan's campaign issued a frantic statement, denying everything. But the damage was done. Social media lit up with old classmates sharing their own stories. A floodgate opened. I watched it unfold from Mom's kitchen, my heart pounding. Noah called me that afternoon. "It's over," he said, his voice heavy. "He's dropping out." I should have felt triumphant, but all I felt was dread. Noah hadn't said we or us. He'd said he. I knew what was coming, but I wasn't ready to face it. Willow Creek was a different place after the article. The diner buzzed with whispers, and Ethan's posters were quietly taken down. He'd withdrawn his candidacy, citing personal reasons. But everyone knew the truth. The town was split. Some called it a witch hunt, others a reckoning. I felt both vindicated and exposed. My name now tied to a story I'd spent years running from. Noah hadn't spoken to me since the article dropped. I texted, called, even showed up at his apartment. But he was a ghost. I knew he was hurting. His brother's downfall was his family's too, but his silence cut deeper than Ethan's fists ever had. Mom noticed my mood. "You did the right thing, Lucas," she said one evening, her hand on mine. "But it's okay to grieve what it cost you." She was right. I'd won. But at what price? I threw myself into work at the legal aid clinic, helping people with small claims and landlord disputes. Anything to keep my mind off Noah. But every quiet moment brought his face back, his smile, his touch, the way he'd made me feel whole. A week later, I ran into Mia at the community center. She'd come back to town to support the story, her presence a quiet strength. "You changed things, Lucas," she said, her eyes bright. "Kids like us, they'll have an easier time now." Her words were a lifeline, but they didn't fill the hole Noah left. I was about to leave when I saw him across the room, helping set up chairs for a meeting. He looked tired. His shoulders slumped. But when our eyes met, something flickered. Hope. Maybe. Lucas, he said, approaching me. Can we talk? We walked to the park, the same one where he'd kissed me under the streetlight. He sat on a bench, staring at his hands. I'm sorry I disappeared, he said. I needed time to process. Ethan, he's a mess. My parents are furious. Not just at you, but at me for giving you that video. I swallowed hard. Do you regret it? He looked at me, his eyes raw. No. But it hurts. He's my brother. Lucas. I hate what he did. But I remember the kid he used to be, before he turned into this. I wanted to reach for him, but I held back. Where does that leave us? I don't know, he said. I love you, but this everything it's a lot. I need to figure out who I am without him in my life. His words were a knife, but they were honest. I nodded, fighting tears. Take the time you need, I said. But Noah, I'm not going anywhere. He smiled, small but real, and squeezed my hand. It wasn't a promise, but it was enough for now. The next few weeks were quiet. Ethan left town, rumors swirling about a job in another state. Willow Creek started to heal. Slowly. The high school implemented new anti-bullying policies, and a local LGBTQ group reached out to me, asking me to speak at an event. I said yes, nervous but ready to own my story. One evening, as I was preparing my speech, my phone buzzed. A text from Noah, "Can I see you?" My heart leapt. We met at the diner, the same one where I'd seen Ethan's posters. He looked better, less haunted. I've been talking to a therapist, he said. About Ethan. About us. I'm not there yet, but I want to be. For you. I reached across the table, taking his hand. We'll get there, I said. Together. The night of the event, I stood in front of a small crowd, kids, parents, teachers. I told my story. Not just the pain, but the hope. I talked about Noah, about love that fights through the mess. When I finished, the room erupted in applause, and I saw Noah in the back, his eyes shining. Afterward, he pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, he said, and kissed me, soft and certain. For the first time, I felt like we could build something real, something stronger than the past. But life isn't a fairy tale. As we left the event, a group of Ethan's old friends stood outside, their glares sharp. One muttered a slur as we passed, and I felt Noah tense beside me. I squeezed his hand, grounding him. Let it go, I said. They don't get to define us. He nodded, but I knew it wasn't over. Not for him. Not for me. Not for Willow Creek. The fight for acceptance was bigger than one article, one election, one love story. But as we walked into the night, hand in hand, I felt ready for whatever came next. Spring came to Willow Creek, painting the town in soft greens and pinks. I was still splitting my time between New York and Mom's house. But Willow Creek felt less like a prison now. The scars were still there, but they were part of a story I was learning to tell with pride. Noah and I were taking it slow, rebuilding what we'd almost lost. We'd spend evenings on his couch, watching old movies, or walking the park where we'd first kissed. He was healing, too, finding his way out of Ethan's shadow. I used to think I had to fix him, he told me one night, his head on my shoulder. But I can't. I can only be me. His honesty was a gift, one I cherished. We talked about the future, moving to New York together. Maybe. Or staying here and building something new. The possibilities felt endless. But they were grounded in something real, us. The town was changing. Too. The LGBTQ group grew, hosting events that drew kids who reminded me of 16-year-old Lucas, scared but hopeful. I mentored a few, sharing my story, listening to theirs. One kid, a shy sophomore named Alex, told me he'd come out to his parents because of the article. "I saw what you did," he said. "It made me believe I could be okay." His words hit me hard. This was why I'd fought, not just for me, but for them. For every kid who felt like they didn't belong. Ethan's absence left a void, but it also left room for growth. The new mayor, a woman named Linda Perez, was an ally, pushing for inclusivity in schools and public spaces. Willow Creek wasn't perfect, but it was trying. And that was enough for now. One afternoon, Noah and I drove to the lake outside town, a place we'd started visiting when we needed to escape. We sat on the shore, skipping stones, the water glinting in the sun. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice steady, "about what you said at the event. About love fighting through the mess." I smiled, nudging him. "You're getting sappy on me, Carver." He laughed, then turned serious. "I mean it. Lucas, you fought for this town. For yourself. For us. I want to fight, too. Not just for you, but for every kid who's scared to be themselves." My heart swelled. I leaned in, kissing him, the world fading to just us and the water's quiet ripple. "We'll fight together," I said. Months later, I got a call from Sarah. She'd been digging into Ethan's new life in Ohio. "He's keeping a low profile," she said. "But I heard he's in therapy. Maybe he's finally facing himself." I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me wanted Ethan to suffer, but another part, the part shaped by Noah, by Mom, by this town, hoped he could change. Not for me, but for the world. Redemption wasn't owed, but it was possible. That night, Noah and I hosted a barbecue at Mom's house. Mia was there, laughing with Alex and a few other kids from the LGBTQ group. Mom, healthier now, was passing out lemonade, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. As the sun set, Noah slipped his hand into mine, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time: peace. I'd come back to Willow Creek expecting to face my past. Instead, I found my future. Ethan had once held power over me, but I'd taken it back, not with fists, but with truth. And Noah, the brother of the boy who'd broken me, had helped me heal in ways I never expected. As we stood there, surrounded by laughter and light, I realized I'd held Ethan's future in my hands and let it go. Not for him, but for me. For Noah. For us. Willow Creek wasn't just a place anymore. It was home, and I was finally free to live in it.